The summer night was unusually quiet when the sky above Jack Miller's farm tore open. A brilliant flash of blue-white light streaked across the Montana darkness, illuminating the wheat fields in an ethereal glow before disappearing behind the eastern ridge with a thunderous boom. Jack bolted upright in bed, his heart hammering against his ribs. At 42, he'd seen meteorites before, but nothing like this. Pulling on his boots and grabbing his shotgun more from habit than intention, Jack stepped onto his porch. A faint glow pulsed from the eastern field, his best soil, where the winter wheat was just beginning to sprout. Something told him to leave the truck, so he walked the half-mile, guided by the strange, pulsing light that seemed to breathe like a living thing. The crater wasn't large, perhaps 20 feet across. But what sat in its center made Jack's breath catch in his throat. A sleek vessel, pearlescent white with blue veins that pulsed with light. Not burning, not destroyed as any crashed object should be. It looked alive. As Jack approached, a seam appeared in the vessel's side, widening into an opening. His hand tightened on the shotgun, though something told him it would be useless. The figure that emerged stood tall and proud, nearly 7 feet of lithe, powerful grace. She, and Jack somehow knew it was female, had the general shape of a human woman, but her skin was a luminous alabaster covered in faint striations that resembled tiger stripes. Her face was feline yet hauntingly beautiful, with high cheekbones and eyes that glowed amber in the darkness. A mane of silver-white hair cascaded down her back, moving as if in a gentle breeze despite the still night air. "I mean no harm," she said, her voice carrying an accent unlike any Jack had heard, melodic and resonant. "I seek assistance." Jack found his voice, rough with disuse. He lived alone, rarely spoke to anyone besides the occasional delivery driver or the cashier at the general store 20 miles away. Who are you?" "I am Thea, Queen of the Arcani." She stepped forward, her movement liquid grace. "My world is dying. I have come seeking the element you call phosphorus, but in a form unique to your world." Jack lowered his gun slightly. "You came across the universe for fertilizer?" The faintest expression crossed her face, amusement, perhaps. "Not exactly. The composition here is unique. We have tracked it to this region." She looked around at his fields. "To your land, specifically. Why not go to the government? Scientists? Why crash land on my farm in the middle of nowhere?" Thea's expression darkened. "My scouts reported your leaders would likely weaponize our need. Extract concessions. I needed someone who understands the land. Someone who works with it, not against it." Her eyes seemed to peer into his soul. "The soil spoke of you." Jack almost laughed, but something in her earnestness stopped him. He'd always felt a connection to his land that went beyond the practical. It was why he'd switched to sustainable methods years ago, despite ridicule from neighboring farms. The land had responded, his crops thriving while others struggled. "My people are at war," Thea continued. "Not of our making, but one we cannot escape. This element, combined with our technology, could shield our world, save millions." She stepped closer, and Jack caught a scent like thunderstorms and wildflowers. "I have little to offer in return except knowledge. Technologies your world has not yet discovered." Jack studied her. Everything in him should be terrified, calling authorities, running away. Instead, he felt an inexplicable calm. A certainty. "I have a spare room," he heard himself say. "And we can start looking tomorrow. But I'll need to understand exactly what you're seeking." For the first time, Thea's regal composure softened. "You would help me so readily?" Jack shrugged, surprising himself with his answer. "The way I see it, Queen Thea, if you meant harm, we wouldn't be having this conversation. And I've always believed we're not alone in the universe." He smiled slightly. "Though I didn't expect the universe to drop into my wheat field." As they walked back toward the farmhouse, the strange vessel seemed to shimmer and then became nearly invisible, camouflaged against the night. Jack felt the weight of a solitude he hadn't even recognized lifting from his shoulders. Something extraordinary had begun. He could feel it in the earth beneath his feet. Morning light spilled across Jack's weathered kitchen table where Thea sat observing him prepare breakfast. Her posture remained regal despite the humble surroundings, her luminous eyes tracking his movements with fascination. "You consume animal products," she noted, watching him crack eggs into a sizzling pan. "On Arcani, we synthesize our nutrition." Jack smiled faintly. "These are for my chickens out back. Free range, well treated. Part of the ecosystem here." He slid the eggs onto a plate alongside toast. "Try it before you judge." To his surprise, Thea took a cautious bite and her eyes widened. The complexity of flavors, remarkable. She finished the meal with unexpected enthusiasm. After breakfast, Jack unrolled soil survey maps across the table. "I've been charting mineral compositions for years. If this special phosphorus exists here, these might help us narrow it down." Thea produced a small crystalline device that projected a three-dimensional map of his property, floating above the table. "My scanners detected traces in this region," she said, indicating the northeastern quadrant where Jack's most successful crops grew. "That's where I've been using my experimental composting method," Jack mused. "Something in the decomposition process might be creating what you need." They spent the morning traversing the fields, Jack in his worn boots and flannel, Thea in her iridescent bodysuit that seemed to shift color with the light. Her movements were fluid as she crouched to examine soil samples, her tiger-striped fingers gently sifting through the earth. "Your connection to this land is extraordinary," she commented. "On my world, such harmony with environment is ancient history. War has scorched much of our surface." Jack frowned. "What kind of war lasts long enough to destroy a planet?" Thea's expression clouded. "One fought between those who wished to conquer other worlds and those who wished to live in peace." She stood, brushing dirt from her hands. "I lead the resistance. Without a defensive shield, my people face extinction." As they worked, Jack found himself increasingly comfortable in her presence. There was something refreshing about her directness, her lack of human pretense. By midday, Thea's scanner had identified a promising location. Jack brought out shovels and they began to dig, working side by side under the Montana sun. Jack removed his shirt as sweat soaked through it, aware of Thea's occasional glances at his lean, work-hardened torso. "Your form is efficient," she remarked simply, causing a flush that wasn't entirely from exertion to spread across Jack's neck. 3 feet down, Thea's scanner pulsed urgently. They uncovered a vein of strange, bluish-white crystal embedded in the soil. It glowed faintly when Thea touched it, responding to something in her biology. "Incredible," she whispered. "This concentration is higher than we dared hope." "What makes it special?" Jack asked, watching her carefully extract a sample. "On my world, we call it stellarite. It absorbs and redirects energy." Her eyes met his. "Your sustainable farming methods have created perfect conditions for it to form. The balance of microorganisms, the absence of harsh chemicals, the natural energy flow, you've been cultivating it unknowingly for years." They spent the afternoon extracting enough crystal to fill 2 small containers. As sunset painted the sky in dramatic oranges and purples, they sat on Jack's porch, the day's labor evident in their dirt-streaked appearances. "Tomorrow we can try the south field," Jack suggested, passing her a glass of water. Thea hesitated. "You have already done more than I expected from any Earth dweller. Why do you help me so readily?" Jack considered the question, watching the sunset reflect in her amber eyes. "I've lived alone on this land for 15 years. After my wife died, I retreated from the world. Found solace in the soil, in growing things. He gestured toward his fields. If what I've built here can help save your people, it gives all those solitary years meaning. Something in Thea's expression softened. She reached out, her striped hand hovering above his forearm before gently touching him. A small electric current seemed to pass between them. On Arcani, touch is reserved for those with deep connection, she explained quietly. But I find myself drawn to your ways. The air between them seemed to thicken. Jack became acutely aware of her exotic beauty, the powerful grace of her tall form. Tomorrow, she said, breaking the moment, I must show you something of my world in return. Knowledge exchange is the foundation of respect among my people. That night, Jack lay awake longer than usual, his thoughts filled with alien crystals and tiger stripes against alabaster skin. Beyond his window, stars glittered in the vast Montana sky, one of which was Thea's home, threatened with destruction. For the first time in years, Jack felt truly alive. Connected not just to his land, but to the universe beyond it. Whatever strange path fate had set him on by sending a tiger-striped queen to his doorstep, he was ready to follow it. Outside, unseen by either of them, the stellarite crystals in their collection containers pulsed with a soft blue light, responding to something new forming between the lonely farmer and the alien queen. 3 weeks had passed since Thea's arrival, and Jack's farm had transformed. The barn, once used only for storing his modest equipment, now housed an otherworldly laboratory where Thea processed the stellarite crystals they harvested each day. Brilliant blue light often spilled from beneath the door well into the night. This evening, Jack approached with a tray of food, having noticed she'd worked through dinner again. He knocked softly before entering. You need to eat, he said, setting down the tray. Thea looked up from a complex arrangement of crystals and what appeared to be liquid light flowing through transparent tubes. Her silver-white mane was tied back, revealing the elegant curve of her neck and the delicate striping that continued beneath her bodysuit. Thank you, she said, reaching for the plate. Their fingers brushed, and the now familiar electric tingle passed between them. Neither pulled away as quickly as they once had. Progress? Jack asked, gesturing to her work. Remarkable progress. Her amber eyes lit with excitement. The stellarite from your soil has properties I've never seen before. It's not just absorbing energy, it's amplifying it. She demonstrated by touching a crystal, which immediately brightened. Your farming methods did this. Your care for the land created something extraordinary. Jack smiled. Never thought my composting would save an alien civilization. My people have lost this knowledge, how to work with nature rather than dominate it. Thea stood, stretching her tall frame. Would you show me more? About your farming methods? Under the silver light of a full moon, they walked the fields. Jack explained his techniques of crop rotation, natural pest management, and the careful balance he maintained in the soil. Thea listened with the intensity she brought to everything, occasionally asking questions that revealed her brilliant scientific mind. Your approach mirrors ancient Arcani philosophy, she said as they paused by the pond Jack had dug years ago. Before technology made us forget our roots. The moonlight silvered her alabaster skin, making the tiger stripes shimmer. Jack found himself staring, mesmerized by her otherworldly beauty. You've been teaching me so much about your world, he said, but there's still so much I don't know about you. Thea's gaze turned to the stars. What would you know? Not just about being a queen or your planet's technology. About you. What brings you joy? What do you fear? The question seemed to surprise her. Joy is not something rulers are encouraged to pursue. My position demands sacrifice. She turned to him. But I have found unexpected pleasure in working beside you. In learning your ways. And fear? Failure, she answered without hesitation. Returning to my people without the means to protect them. Without thinking, Jack reached for her hand. That won't happen. The contact sent a stronger current between them than before. Thea's eyes widened, pupils dilating. "Your electrical impulses are changing," she whispered. "Your body chemistry shifts when you're near me." Jack felt his heart rate increase. "Is that your scientific way of saying I'm attracted to you?" The directness of his question hung in the night air between them. Thea stepped closer, her height making him tilt his head up to maintain eye contact. "Attraction between species is rare," she said softly. "But not impossible. Is it just scientific curiosity for you?" Jack asked, suddenly vulnerable. In answer, Thea raised her hand to his face, fingers tracing his jaw with exquisite gentleness. "No. It is more. Something I've never experienced as a warrior queen." She leaned down, bringing her face closer to his. "Show me how humans express this feeling." Jack closed the distance between them, pressing his lips to hers. The contact sent waves of warmth through his body, intensified by whatever electrical energy her species naturally conducted. Her lips were softer than he'd expected, warming quickly to his. When they parted, Thea's eyes glowed more intensely. "Fascinating," she whispered, but the scientific detachment in her voice was belied by her quickened breathing. "There's more to it than that," Jack said with a small smile. "Show me," she replied. Under the light of Earth's moon, Jack taught the alien queen about human intimacy, the gentle exploration of touch, the language of caresses. Thea was a quick study, her natural grace extending to this new territory between them. Her skin against his created sensations he'd never imagined possible, every point of contact humming with subtle energy that heightened every feeling. Later, lying together beneath the stars, Thea traced patterns on his chest. "On my world, physical union carries great significance. It forms bonds not easily broken." Jack caught her hand, bringing it to his lips. "It's not so different here. When I came to Earth, I sought only a mineral," she said softly. "I did not expect to find." She paused, searching for the word. "Connection," Jack supplied. "Neither did I." Above them, a shooting star streaked across the sky, a reminder of how Thea had first arrived in his field. Both silently wondered how much time they had before duty would call her back to the stars, and what would become of this unexpected bond growing between an ordinary Earth farmer and a tiger-striped queen from the cosmos. Jack woke to the sound of unfamiliar humming. Not the mechanical drone of farm equipment, but a rhythmic, almost musical vibration that seemed to resonate through the old farmhouse walls. He reached across the bed, finding only rumpled sheets where Thea had lain. "Thea," he called, pulling on clothes and following the sound to the front porch. She stood motionless, her tall figure silhouetted against the dawn sky. Her attention was fixed on a point high above, a pulsing light that grew steadily brighter. "They found me," she said without turning. Her voice carried a weight he hadn't heard since her arrival. "My royal guard. They were to check on my progress after one lunar cycle." Jack moved beside her, squinting at the approaching light. Unlike Thea's elegant vessel, this craft was angular, utilitarian. Built for function rather than beauty. It descended with precision, settling in the same field where Thea had landed weeks before. "You knew they were coming." It wasn't a question. "Yes." Her amber eyes finally met his, troubled. "I should have told you." Before Jack could respond, the craft's doors slid open. 3 figures emerged, each bearing the same tiger-striped markings as Thea, though their coloration varied from copper to slate blue. They wore fitted armor that seemed to shift and move like living metal. The tallest stepped forward, dropping to one knee before Thea. "My queen, we bring news from Arcani." Jack watched as Thea transformed before his eyes. Her posture straightened, chin lifting, voice taking on a commanding resonance he'd never heard her use with him. "Rise, Commander Krell. Speak." The Dominion forces have intensified their assaults. 3 more provinces have fallen. The Council requests your immediate return with whatever resources you've secured. A muscle tensed in Thea's jaw, the only indication of her distress. And if I require more time? The commander's eyes flicked briefly to Jack. The Council grants whatever time your Majesty requires. But they stress the urgency of our situation. I understand. You will remain here until I've completed preparations. 1 Earth week, no more. The guards bowed and retreated to their craft. Only when they were out of sight did Thea's shoulders relax slightly. You have to go, Jack said softly. Yes. She turned to him, conflict evident in her luminous eyes. The stellarite we've harvested will be enough to begin shield construction, but your people need their queen. They walked in silence back to the house. The comfortable domesticity they'd established now felt tenuous, temporary. Jack prepared breakfast mechanically, mind racing with questions he was afraid to ask. Thea broke the silence. I've shown you little of what a queen truly is. Her voice was low. The responsibilities, the weight of millions of lives. I've seen enough, Jack replied. I've seen you work tirelessly for your people. I've seen your dedication. What you haven't seen is the warrior. Her eyes met his. The decisions I've made, the battles I've fought. The blood on my hands. Jack set down his coffee. Are you trying to push me away? I'm trying to be honest. What has grown between us? She placed her hand over his, the familiar electric current flowing between them. It cannot change my duty. I would never ask that of you. He turned his hand to entwine his fingers with hers. But we still have a week. The days that followed took on a desperate intensity. By day, they worked feverishly to extract and process the remaining stellarite deposits. Jack's farm became a flurry of activity as the Arcani guards assisted, their efficient movements and advanced technology accelerating the work. By night, Jack and Thea clung to each other with increasing urgency, exploring the boundaries of their interspecies connection. Their lovemaking grew more intense, as if they could somehow imprint themselves on each other's souls before separation. Our bodies are physically compatible, Thea observed one night, her head resting on his chest, but the electrical impulses of my species create a unique experience for you, don't they? Jack laughed softly. That's one way of putting it. He traced the striped patterns along her shoulder. It's like every cell in my body is fully awake when I'm with you. It is the same for me. She propped herself up, studying his face. On Arcani, we have a term for rare connections that transcend ordinary bonds. Soul weaving, your language might call it. Is that what this is? Her expression grew serious. I don't know. Such bonds typically form between Arcani who have known each other for years. She touched his face. Yet I feel more connected to you after weeks than to many I've known lifetimes. Jack wanted to ask the question that hung between them, what happens next, but feared breaking the fragile peace of the moment. On the 6th day, as they packed crystalline containers of processed stellarite into the Arcani craft, Commander Krell approached Jack. You've aided our queen when she needed it most, the commander said stiffly. The Arcani are in your debt. Jack nodded. Just help her save your people. That's all I ask. Krell studied him with calculating eyes. She is different since coming here. This concerns some of us. Different how? Hesitant. Contemplative where once she was decisive. The commander's striped face was unreadable. A queen cannot afford such attachments. That night, as they lay together one last time, Jack finally asked the question. Will I ever see you again? Thea was silent for a long moment. I don't know, she finally whispered. The war may consume me. And if we succeed, a queen has responsibilities that cannot be abandoned. Jack pulled her closer. I understand. Do you? She raised herself to look into his eyes. Could you leave this land that has been your life? Could you exist in a world where you would be the alien? The question hung in the air between them, unanswered as they sought comfort in each other's arms one final time, the Montana stars witnessing their silent goodbye. The first frost of autumn glazed Jack's fields, the morning sun transforming each blade of grass into a sparkling jewel. 4 months had passed since Thea's departure. 4 months of silence that echoed through the farmhouse she had briefly shared. Jack moved through his daily routines mechanically. The harvest had been exceptional, the soil still vibrant with whatever energy the stellarite had left behind. He should have felt satisfaction in the bounty, but instead found only hollowness. Each night, he stood on his porch and gazed at the stars, wondering which distant point of light was Arcani. Wondering if Thea had succeeded in creating her shield. If she survived. If she ever thought of the Montana farmer who had fallen in love with a tiger-striped queen. You're a fool, Jack Miller, he muttered to himself, turning to go inside, and froze. A familiar blue-white light streaked across the night sky, its trajectory unmistakable. His heart hammered against his ribs as he watched it descend toward the eastern field. The same field where it had all begun. Jack ran. Across the yard, through the frosty wheat stubble, his breath clouding in the cold air. By the time he reached the field, the sleek vessel had settled, its pearlescent surface gleaming under the moonlight. The door opened, and Thea emerged. She wore formal attire unlike anything he'd seen before, an intricate armor-like bodice that caught the moonlight in iridescent patterns, and a flowing cape that seemed woven from starlight itself. A delicate circlet crowned her silver-white mane. Every inch the alien queen. Then she saw him, and the regal mask slipped. Her amber eyes softened, lips parting in a smile that transformed her face. Jack, she said, and the sound of his name in her melodic voice broke something inside him. They met halfway, colliding in an embrace that crackled with energy, both emotional and the literal electricity that always flowed between them. Jack buried his face in her neck, breathing in her thunderstorm scent, reassuring himself she was real. When they finally separated enough to speak, Jack cupped her face. You came back. I promised I would try, she replied softly. The war? Your people? The stellarite worked beyond our expectations. The shield holds. Pride and relief mingled in her voice. The Dominion forces have retreated. For now, there is peace. They walked hand in hand toward the farmhouse, 4 months of separation dissolving in the comfort of renewed connection. Inside, Thea removed her royal garments, transforming back into the more familiar figure who had shared his home and his bed. I've thought of this place every day, she confessed, running her striped fingers along the worn kitchen table. Of you. How long can you stay? Jack asked, afraid of the answer. Thea turned to face him fully. That depends on you. She reached into a small pouch at her waist and withdrew a crystal unlike any they'd harvested, multifaceted and pulsing with inner light. This is stellarite in its purest form, she explained. On Arcani, it powers our most sacred bonds. She placed it on the table between them. It offers a choice. Jack looked from the crystal to her questioning eyes. What kind of choice? I cannot abandon my people or my throne. But neither can I forget what I found here. Her voice tightened with emotion. The stellarite can create a permanent bond between us, a bridge between worlds. I don't understand. If you accept, this crystal would change you, attune your biology partially to mine. You would remain human, but with certain adaptations. She took his hands. You could visit Arcani without the harmful effects our atmosphere would normally cause. You could share my life there. She paused. And I could continue to share yours here. Jack stared at the pulsing crystal. You're offering me the chance to travel between worlds? Yes. But more than that, I'm offering you a place in both. As my consort on Arcani. As your partner on Earth. Her eyes searched his. The crystal would also extend your lifespan to match mine. We would have centuries together, not decades. The magnitude of her offer left him speechless. To see alien worlds, to live beyond a normal human lifespan, these were gifts beyond imagination. But they weren't what made his decision. When would we have to leave? He asked. My duties require me to return within a lunar cycle. But we could divide our time, half a year on Arcani, half on Earth. She gestured toward his fields. Your farm would thrive even in your absence. The stellarite has permanently enhanced your soil. Jack thought of his solitary existence before her arrival. The emptiness of the last 4 months without her. Then he looked at the extraordinary being before him, the warrior queen who had crossed galaxies and still somehow found her way back to his door. He reached for the crystal. It warmed at his touch, the inner light pulsing in time with his heartbeat. I choose you, he said simply. Both worlds. The transformation wasn't painful, but strange, a tingling that started where he held the crystal and spread throughout his body, rewriting something fundamental. When it finished, he felt both entirely himself and somehow more. Thea's eyes glowed with emotion. The bond is formed. Do you feel it? He did, a subtle awareness of her that hadn't existed before, a connection that transcended physical proximity. When she kissed him, the electrical current between them flowed in perfect harmony, no longer alien but complementary. That night, their reunion was both familiar and new, two beings from different worlds who had somehow created their own shared universe. At dawn, they stood on the porch watching the sun rise over his fields. Their fields now. What will your people think of your human consort? Jack asked. Thea smiled. They will learn what I have, that appearances disguise true nature. That wisdom comes in unexpected forms. She squeezed his hand. That sometimes, the universe sends us exactly where we need to be. Above them, the morning star faded as daylight strengthened, one world giving way to another, just as they would move between theirs. Not queen and farmer anymore, but something new, travelers between stars, caretakers of two homes, lovers who had rewritten the boundaries of possibility. Ready to see what comes next? Thea asked. Jack nodded, no longer afraid of the vast unknown. With her hand in his, even the stars felt within reach.